Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Passionately Speaking. This is our weekly public speaking masterclass where we talk about how we can become better speakers and really make a difference in the world. So tonight is no different. Tonight we are going to talk about your ethical responsibility as a speaker and as an audience member. And yes, as a speaker, we have an ethical responsibility, and I've outlined 7 different possibilities that we have to think about when we are the speaker. Because a lot of people just stand up and flap their jaw, and they don't take into consideration how it's affecting their audience, how their own opinions might be affecting the audience. They might be hurting the audience. They might be making the audience upset and mad. And so we've got a responsibility not to do that. Our responsibility is to get our message out to the world and change lives, make a difference, make some money doing it while we're doing it. But it isn't to try to change someone. It isn't to try to put our views on someone. It isn't, any of that. So I've outlined about 7 different ones that I want to share with you to keep in mind when you're speaking. And this is either live or virtual. It is no different. All right. So your ethical responsibility as a speaker and as an audience member. All right. The first one is honesty. You must be honest. Tell the truth, nothing but the truth. And I know this might sound easy, and it might be for some, but it's awful easy just to make up stuff. And when you say it, make it sound real. And we've all heard speakers that do that. Maybe they didn't do enough research. Maybe they're putting their own views on the audience, or maybe they're making up a price and fabricating a deal or fabricating bonuses or whatever. We've all seen it. We've heard it. We've been at the mercy of it in some cases. So number one, we must be honest with everything that we're sharing. And if you need to, sometimes we might need to do some research to not only be honest, but to stay current, because staying current and being accurate is part of being honest. So we must do that. Make sure that whatever statistics you may be using are absolutely real, current, true, and all of that. I've seen so many speakers that have some statistic, and down at the bottom of their PowerPoint, it says from 2008 almanac or whatever. I'm like, really? And to me, it discredits everything that they say, because it tells me that they're just not current, or they're just not, or maybe they're too lazy to go and get the final research. So be honest, tell the truth, nothing but the truth. The next one is be generous. You want to be generous. You want to give the audience great value without overwhelming them. I've heard a lot of speakers say, well, I don't want to give them my best stuff. I don't want to give them my best stuff. You know what? Give them your best stuff, because then they know you got better stuff, right? But if you just give them the same old stuff everybody else does, or your competition does, then there's nothing special that they're going to want in return. There's nothing more that they're going to want from you. So be generous, but that doesn't mean turn on the fire hose and make it so that they can't, they can't accept it, or that they can't have a thought-provoking idea as a result of it. So you want to give them a lot of good stuff, but it doesn't mean that you have to overwhelm them, right? That's why we have structure, where we say in a 30-minute talk, you want to give 3 to 5 teaching points, 3 to 5 pieces of meat, 3 to 5 nuggets, whatever you want to call it, 3 to 5 principles, 3 to 5 ideas. And I say that because I had a client from France recently. I still have her, but we were talking, and I kept talking about the sandwich and the meat. And she finally says, Arvee, I'm a vegetarian. So I thought, okay, I think I need to call it something else. So whatever you want to call it, what goes in the center. All right. It's your teaching points. It's what they came to get from you. But don't turn on that fire hose. Some of you heard the story where I went to a presentation just to check it out. because it was a group of mediators, and I didn't know, never been around any mediators, never having to have to go have one myself. So I wanted to go the month before, meet them and see what they needed. Well, the guy that was speaking that particular evening gave 101 marketing tips, and it was like a fire hose. It was just really a list. He didn't have room for stories. He didn't have room for case studies. He didn't have room for anybody to breathe. And that was about the only time I think I've ever checked out from a speaker and went right to my phone to play solitaire. It was that bad. Anyway, so don't turn on the fire hose. That's not what I'm talking about. Give your best content, your latest content, the most current, the trendiest, the most up to date, the most innovative, the most whatever for you, but not some old stuff that somebody's already heard 1,000 times. All right, the next one is be respectful and give them personal respect and attention. And the way we be respectful is by building rapport with them, right? So what are some ways, put it in the chat, what are some ways that you can show your audience respect? Just put it in the chat and I will open it up once I see it. All right, I don't see any chit chatty. Come on, I want chit chatty. Chitty chatty. All right. Okay, so little chat. Listen effectively. Yes. Good. Use names. Yes, DJ. Acknowledge. I've got to put on my glasses. Acknowledge as they come in. Yes. Very good. Say thank you. Eye contact. Beautiful, beautiful. Give them the personal acknowledgement. Absolutely. Those are all 100% right on. So good job for that. That's how we do it. And then they get that personal respect. When you're in a live situation, you can't always greet people as the speaker or as the host, because you might be talking to somebody over here and it might be rude to stop and break off. But in this environment, we can do that because we're seeing everybody. So make sure you acknowledge someone when they come in. So hello, Ardina. I know you came in a little bit late. Welcome. Awesome. So always acknowledge, even if you have to come and circle back around. It's better than someone coming in the room and not saying anything. They will surely leave. People have been doing enough of this that, they're kind of up to here with a lot of it. And if you don't acknowledge them, if they don't feel welcome, then you're going to lose them. And you'll probably lose them forever. So, what happened? Sorry about that. All right. So be respectful and give them personal attention. Next one, be kind. Show kindness and concern. So again, we can see everybody. If someone's not looking like they're feeling well, you don't want to throw them under the bus and say, oh, you look terrible. But you could just say, just be kind. If you could address the whole group. Is this good stuff? Is everybody okay? Am I on the right track? Are you getting what you need? You can ask some questions. Right? There's no rule that says you can't stop and look at your audience and go, hey, is everybody okay? Are we all on the same page? Now, if you're using PowerPoint, it's a little less, it's more challenging, a little less obvious because you can only see. Something is wrong with my mouse. Bad mouse. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. It's super sensitive tonight. Super sensitive. Oh, not ready for that one. All right. So when you're in a live environment, it's a little easier because you can see everyone. And if someone is doing this, what does this usually mean? Right. They're hot. The room temperature might be too hot, or they're having their own personal summer. Don't call them on that. But you can just stop and say, is the temperature okay, or are you hot? Right? And if everybody's hot, but the one person, they will tell you. They just needed to be asked. So it's a lot easier in the environment to to look at your audience and see if they're falling asleep. However, you know that it's probably too. You better spice up your speech or cool down the room, because that can make people go to sleep. But you can't always gauge it on that. I knew one of my clients once, when it was cold, she went to sleep. She had something going on where when it was cold, she went to sleep, and when it was hot, she didn't. So there are always those exceptions. All right. All right, next. Be flexible. Be flexible and willing to change and go with the flow, right? What does this mean? What are the times where you might have to be flexible? I'm going to stop my share and just open it up. What are those times that you might have to be flexible during your speech? Who wants to share?
Oh, Arvee, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was going to put it in the chat room, but when the Wi-Fi goes out and somebody freezes, something can happen there, or somebody's dog is barking that you don't have control over because they're not muted or something like that. Or the lights go out. These are things in the Zoom age right now that things can happen that we have no control over. Just like if we're on stage.
And same on stage, the microphone could go out.
Yep.
The PowerPoint doesn't work. Yeah, I've had that happen. And as speakers, you have to be ready to just go on.
And if the PowerPoint goes out, you have to be ready to do your speech without anything. So you trained us on that. Well, I know that for sure from you. It's drilled in my head. So that never depend on that. You can depend on the Bible, but you can't depend on anything else.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. What about time? What can happen to your time that can mess you up?
The event planner cuts you off, or they say there's too many speakers, and you need to cut your speech short a little bit, or
right. They either change your time and you have to go with the flow, meaning put you in a different slot, or they cut your time off, and you need to smile and just go with the flow and be gracious. This happens all the time. Even in the virtual world, I've been cut. Oh, you know what? We don't have enough time in our meeting now. Could you do it in 10 minutes? Oh, yeah. You just have to do what you have to do and be gracious, because things happen. But as professionals, you can do that. Just to take out a piece of the meat, just take out one of those teaching principles. You don't say anything. You don't say, well, my time was cut. I got to cut my speech. No, that's not being gracious and kind. That's not being gracious and kind, because you don't want to throw the president or the host or the organizer under the bus. You don't. You feel like it, believe me, but you don't. Okay? All right, great job. Next. All right, after we go with the flow. All right, be present in the moment. Be present in the moment. All these people are there, they're present, they're leaning forward, they're smiling, they're engaged. It's so easy in this environment to not be present fully. It's so easy to look at our cell phones. It's so easy to type, and do some work. We're thinking we're going to get the most out of it because we've got one ear on one thing and then we're typing on the other. And we can't do that. I mean, women can multitask a lot better than men can, but either way, you're not 100% present, and you're going to miss something that maybe could have changed your own life or your own business. So you want to always be present. Now, right now we're talking about speaking, but I also have that for when you're the speaker. But be present in the moment. When you're present as a speaker in the moment and fully vested in your activity and your speech and your rehearse, and you have your excitement and all of that, your audience will be present with you. So it starts with you. Who does it start with?
You.
That's right. It starts with you. All right, excellent. One more here, and that is be aware of your audience needs and wants. Be aware. Now, just like the example of if someone's fanning themselves, that they're hot, right? And you can know that they need to cool off perhaps, but there's other needs, especially in this kind of environment that you want to be aware of. Sometimes people, they might, different time zones, they might need to eat something. And you just tell them, be aware, come, I know for some of you it's lunchtime. You go ahead if you need to eat. Now, on the other side of it, as an audience, I recommend you do not do that because there's nothing worse for us to look at than someone chewing. All right. Smoking is the worst thing I've seen, but my goodness gracious. So try to eat beforehand. Turn off your video if you have to eat. And but again, as a speaker, we want to be aware. Now, be aware of different time zones. Some people might be coming to your presentation that it's 2 a.m. in the morning. And I know we had a lot of people like that. Well, not a lot, but several people like that at the $1 Million. A gal coming, zooming in from the Netherlands. Another gal zooming in from Hong Kong. I mean, it was 2:30 in the morning when it was 9 o'clock our time, right? So we want to be aware of it and just compliment them and love on them and just acknowledge them for the extra miles that they came. You're not going to see me getting up at 2 a.m. in the morning. I'll listen to the recording, but it's always better if you're there and present. So just acknowledge them and just be aware of their needs and their wants and their desires. All right, as an audience member now, there's a few more things that we need to do, but a lot of them are going to be the same. Number one, we have to be present, and it's so hard for us to, it's so hard for the speaker to keep attention in this environment. A lot easier in the real life environment because you can have people raise their hand. You can have them turn to the person next to you, give them a high five, shake their hand, get up in the room and go and mingle. There's a lot more things we could do in the live environment that we just can't do here as a speaker. But as a speaker, we can make sure that we engage them as much as we can. Remember, you could turn your PowerPoint off and on, or not your PowerPoint, but your share, come back to them, check in, because you can see everybody, give them an exercise, and just be creative. You have to be creative in this environment. And even more so, more creative. A lot of people are really getting sick of breakout sessions because that seems like that's all network meetings are doing these days. So come to one of my networking meetings and see what I'm doing. I shake it up. I use all kinds of different tools that I found on the internet, and I shake up every single meeting. They're not alike, and they're all different. And you got to be creative. All right. Okay. Be present. Be flexible. Boy, I tell you, we have to have so much flexibility in these environments because of the technology. A lot of people just haven't mastered it. And even when you think you mastered it, something goes haywire, right? Just like my PowerPoint, my mouse got away from me. It's like, come on, I'm a professional. I know how to do this. But when you're dealing with technology, things can happen, even to the best rehearsed person. So be careful. Sometimes your internet's going to go haywire because maybe you picked a time when a lot of people are on Zoom, and that happens all the time. So there's billions of people now on this, billions. All right, be respectful. If you have to leave the meeting or the room, please, the etiquette way to do it is to put it in the chat to everyone. Just say, I'm so sorry, I do have to leave. I've back-to-back meetings or whatever, or I don't feel good or whatever it is. Don't just pop out. That's rude. That's like going to someone's house and leaving without saying goodbye. So you must be respectful and exit properly. You don't have to make a big deal and wave to everybody and go, bye, everybody, I'm leaving, and interrupt the meeting. But you should at least tell people in the chat that you're leaving. Not one person, not privately, but everybody. Got it?
Got it.
Good. All right. And here too, we want to be kind to everyone. We don't want to say nasty things in the chat. We don't want to challenge someone if they shared their own opinion in the chat as an audience member. We don't want to challenge them. We don't want to say you're wrong. We don't want to lash out privately either. You just be kind. Let it go. Roll it off your back. So what if you don't agree? This is not the place for some kind of contest. It is just not the place. Life is too short. People save the chats and your words would live on forever. So again, just like you would in real life, be kind. And if there are chats that are available for private chats, be kind. Don't be talking about people. Don't be like judging people, because everything comes back to you. Now, there was somebody in a meeting that I was in recently, a new group, and it's the first time I went to this particular event, which was a deep dive event. And I didn't know what it was, but it was like meditation the whole time. Not that there's nothing wrong with meditation, don't get me wrong. But this was a meditation where this guy wanted you to unattach, and he took you through a process where you're dying, right? And then you let go. Other people come and tell you how wonderful you were in this life, right? And then it was horrible. I hated it. I couldn't stand it. It was against all my Christian beliefs. It was so wrong. But I kept my mouth shut until, right? Somebody in the chat that knows me, this is one of my clients, and we had 25 people there, private chatted me. And then she was putting fuel on the fire. And she started saying like, oh, I can't believe that he did this. He's a shaman and la, la, la. And he should have had a choice and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, she got me all riled up. She got me to where I couldn't stand it. And I was in tears. And then now I'm showing up as a big baboon and telling these people, because everybody had to do a share. And she kept writing me privately, and this is wrong, and got me all up in arms. And then I like opened my mouth and said, I didn't like it. I didn't like the process. It's against my Christian beliefs and blah, 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 blah. And then it was like, oh my God, a big deal. And then they put me in a room by myself, and the two moderators talked to me by myself. I mean, this was like a week or two ago. Right. And so I could have just let it go and kept my own, I didn't need to open it up, a can of worms. I told them like, well, I think you're playing with fire when you do this and blah, blah, blah. And I really got on my soapbox once it was exposed. Right. Well, guess what? One of the moderators I see like 2 or 3 times a week on other calls. Are you getting what I'm saying? Sometimes it's just better to keep your mouth shut and let it go and be kind than to say your opinion and stir up the pot, especially a pot you have no control over and that you're not in charge of. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. To this day, I wish I kept my mouth shut because it didn't serve me or my God by opening it up. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So be kind. Don't get other people riled up is my point there. Don't get other people. Keep your opinions to yourself, right? If you want to call them privately and have after the meeting, fine. But during the meeting, probably not a good idea. People can be a loose cannon. All right, be complimentary. Now, I don't know anybody that's more complimentary than Dr. Renee. To everyone and everything, not a bad thing passes her lips. I wish I could say the same, but I can't. Not a bad word about one person or one thing in on this planet ever comes out of her mouth. And that's what you want to model to be. Model to be like Dr. Renee, who has a kind word to say about everybody and everything. So always be complimentary. She'll find something good to say about you. Right? Whether it's your hair, your eyes, or your clothes, or your background, or your laugh, or your personality, or whatever. And that's what you want to do. Always think of something you like about somebody. When you're in, I'm talking about when you're in this environment as an audience member, and be complimentary, right? Be complimentary. Okay, and of course, be on time. This is a big one. A lot of people are getting a little bit lazy. I noticed on Zoom meetings and Zoom calls, they're coming in late or just barely in the nick of time. You miss the good networking that happens ahead of time. Remember when you go and speak, I always tell you what, Renee, to come at least what? I know you come an hour, but I tell you to come at least how early?
I come an hour and a half, sometimes an hour in advance. You told me to do the sage, do the blessing, say a prayer, be on time, be at the door, greet everyone, and the event planner first.
Right. But 30 minutes is what I recommend. You're
yes.
just an overachiever, which is fine, which is good. But at least 30 minutes. Now, it doesn't mean you come 30 minutes on a Zoom call.
That's different.
But you should come 10 minutes ahead of time. If it's a networking meeting, 10 minutes ahead of time. If you're the speaker, then yes, you need to be 15 minutes, sometimes even more, because you might have to do some sort of a check, right? But that's, what you need to ask the host. But as a participant, you need to be here at least 10 minutes. So next Tuesday, I want to see you come in this meeting at least 10 minutes. So we can talk and chat. Some of the best things are said before the meetings, right? Some of the best one-on-one connections happen before the networking meetings. So come, be on time or be early. And again, stay to the end. A lot of people check out, they check out early. They have back-to-back meetings, and that's fine, right? But maybe you need to, schedule it a little bit better, or not go to one if you think you have to leave early. So again, stay till the end. And if you have to leave, just tell everybody in the chat, I'm so sorry, I've got another call and I've got to prepare. It was great seeing all of you. I'll see you back next time. So just be gracious. And if you have to leave, but some people I know just leave to leave, right? They don't like what they're hearing, so they just go, or they're bored, so they go. And they're only bored because they were never fully engaged and present right here. They were multitasking and then they felt lost. How many of you have ever been to any meeting, whether it's Zoom or live, and you just kind of felt lost, right? Maybe you came in late and you thought you could catch up and you can't, or I don't know. I know I have. I've come into meetings and I'm like, what are they doing? Right. And then I feel like I just want to go because I'm behind or I'm lost and I can't figure it out or whatever. Stay to the end. You will figure it out. Ask some people. They will tell you. All right. Everybody will be kind and they'll be happy to share. All right. So that's it for tonight. That's our lesson. Yes. Oh, I wasn't sure if you had a question.
I have a question.
Okay.
May I ask a question, Arvee, please?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I'm doing an event 2 days back to back, 10 to 2 Thursday and 10 to 2 on Friday.
Okay.
My question to you is what you just said during that meditation or out of body experience, whatever you did. Isn't it better to have in the chat room, not to have it where they're connecting with each other so that they don't get each other riled up and they're disconnecting and having their own private chat, like, let's do coffee, let's go out to lunch, isn't this boring, doesn't the speaker look stupid, or then it's their own conversation. Is that a good idea to do that?
Yes, and yes, and yes.
Okay, so it's called, what do you do? What does it say?
You
turn off
private chat.
Private chat. Okay,
Right.
But they can still chat in the chat room?
Yeah, they chat for everybody. That's why, there's no side conversations happening. Because if you were speaking and somebody was talking to somebody else, you would see it. And what would you do? You would stop talking. They would look up, they would notice, they'd feel a little embarrassed, and they would be quiet. But we can't do that here. Right? So they're having their own conversation. Like I said, this woman was having this big old long conversation and got me all excited. I mean, before I just wasn't participating, but then she made me feel like, I experienced an evil experience and I partaken in it and participated in it. And you know what I mean? So I felt like crap afterwards, after she started. It is not her fault. It's her beliefs. We all react. I take 100% responsibility for everything. She got me riled. I let her get me riled.
Mhm.
I participated back and forth with her. I could have just said, you know what? It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm sure that, God will forgive us or whatever. Right. But no, I played the game back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So that's my part in it, until it got me so upset I was in tears. And then I looked like a fool, or felt like one in front of everybody, you know, you know. These were all spiritual people, right? So very different, very weird. I will not go to another one.
But
Not that meeting.
doesn't that ruin it for other things that people may invite you to, something else that is not, or you're doing an out of body thing or something like that? If you judge every single thing that does spiritual, as you said.
No. I'm just saying that that's where they were, and that's the kind of work that they do. They
Uh-huh.
do shaman activities. You know what that is?
Yes and no. I mean,
Shamanic,
pardon me?
or whatever it's called. Anyway, we don't want to go there.
Okay.
I'm not judging anything or anybody. I'm just giving you a very real life example about be kind and don't, like engage and get other people, mad and stuff. I had this one meeting that I went to recently, a women's group. This woman came in, I knew her. She came in late, like 15 minutes late. She came in, she's all fired up about Trump, and she started bashing him, not knowing who in the room is for him or against him, which is, we don't bring in politics anyway. And
No.
one of my friends who I invited to the meeting to be a possible member left, you know? And so I texted the girl and said, what is, is this common? And she's like, no. Then the founder called me and said, I understand that you said something about, is there politics? We're not supposed to do politics, and then she's like, I'm going to call this girl. And, so that's what, doing the wrong thing in this kind of environment can create. We have to be kind, and everybody's got different beliefs, different politics,
Different opinions, everything, especially this year, is so
Yeah.
much negativity. If you allow the conversation to go in that direction, and us as leaders, we have to control our environment. It's our stage. I mean, if we're doing our event, of course. I know how you always say their stage, their stage, their stage, our stage, our stage, our stage.
Our room, our room, our room.
I mean that one. Sorry,
Yeah.
our room.
Yeah.
Our Zoom room. Our
Yeah.
Zoom room.
See, when you walk into a room and you're fired up, you might say something to the first person right next to you. The whole audience doesn't hear, but in the Zoom rooms, everybody's going to hear it. So it's so different, and we have to be really careful. All right. So to answer your question, I would recommend turning off the private chat. Unless there's a reason for it, I would turn it off. CJ, do you have it on in your network meeting?
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. We just leave it on.
If it doesn't cause any problems, then fine.
Yeah.
Like I say, the couple of times,
Only one time, we've been doing it twice a week since March, and only one time did a person say to me, this person is writing me privately, it's making me feel uncomfortable, and I'm going to have to leave the meeting today. That happened one time. So it did happen to someone, from somebody who was not a regular attender of the meeting and started, sending private messages. So you can't control that all the time, but for the most part, it's not a problem for this group. So
good. Okay. If it's not a problem, fine. If that's what you want, fine. For me, I have mine turned off. Mm-hmm. So you guys can't private chat. But it's not more, it's mainly for my other networking meeting more than this one. I don't want to go turn it off and turn it on and turn it off and turn it on.
It's all about the intention of the meeting and what's appropriate in the meeting. In this meeting, that would not be appropriate. In that meeting, it is, because we're there to facilitate conversation and we encourage each other. We'll just write to each other and, you know, share your phone number or whatever, that kind of a thing. So we use it for that purpose there intentionally.
And Dr. Renee, did you call Frances?
Yes, I did.
Are you seeing her?
The Francis, the animal communicator. Yes, I left a message. I haven't heard back yet.
Good. Yeah, I told her you're going to contact her.
Okay, good.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah, she's an emailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. It's an email.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't heard back yet, so I will do follow up.
Okay, good. Yeah. And anyway, she's terrific. She's been talking to us even after the session because Zeus now has acted up. And so she's like telling him, you're being a brat. Stop being a brat. And she's telling me you need to make him stay outside. And so he knows how good he's got it. So he was a real bad boy yesterday. When I say bad boy, he's peeing on things, you know? And so new things that he didn't used to go on because he used to go on our bed, our box spring, and we had to get a brand new bed because of it. And so allowed in the bedroom. What?
I have a quick suggestion for that because we have a Russian wolfhound, the Borzoi, who's as big as a Great Dane. And then we have the Malteses, which are 5 pounds, and 3 of them. And then one Jean-Luc is 6 pounds. So Bentley would start that. And then they would walk by as he's eating, and his lip would go up, you know, that lip where you see the teeth. And I would get the newspaper and I would hit my hand near his head, near it. I would say, no. I did that a few times. And I also got a coffee can with coins, say, no. Then he stopped. So it broke that little thing. It's that animalistic thing. And that marking, what Zeus is doing is sort of the same thing, RV. He's marking territory. And a boxer, pee-pee, I mean, that's a urine is a lot. It isn't like a little puppy. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's a lot to clean up. So just a suggestion, if you get a newspaper rolled up, never hit him directly, but hit your hand, say no, or the coffee can. It will change their state and he'll get it. It's like every time he does that, he'll look at you and say, uh-oh, mommy's holding that can. I better not do that. So it's just, I've had over 30 dogs and they all have been trained. Everybody has some personalities and this and that. But I've trained them not barking, not, you know, the pee-pee and going around, and everybody pee-pees on a pee-pee pad, except for the big one. He goes outside.
Except for Jim.
No, he's not here, so that's good. No, all the little dogs go on a pee-pee pad, nice and neat in one little area. The big one goes outside. Bentley goes outside. But this thing about Bentley had that also because he wasn't cut. Once I had him neutered, you know, I even trained him before he was neutered not to go pee-pee and to mark his territory. So it's a male alpha thing.
Yeah, Zeus isn't fixed, and he's
fixed, not fixed.
Not.
Oh, okay. Is there a reason why?
Michael.
Oh, really? Okay, so this is a subject, and I'm going to say 10 seconds. It's healthier. Is he over 5 years old?
You don't need to tell me.
Oh, okay. It is healthier for a
guy thing. It's a guy thing for him.
Yeah, it is healthier to get neutered, so the dog lives longer and less problems, physiology. But that's your deal. As long as you did the research, that's your dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had that conversation. Anyway, okay. I just wanted to contacted her because she's fabulous, and I met her at CJ's event. You know, I talked to her a lot on Facebook, but if I didn't meet her face to face in this environment, I wouldn't have hired her from Facebook. So it was being in a meeting with her, chatting with her. We chatted. We were in a breakout room together, so we physically chatted. Yeah. So that's very cool. Okay. Anybody have any questions? I know we kind of went on another direction there, but anybody? Yeah. Karen's going. Woo!
Sorry, Karen. Sorry.
So anybody else have any questions or want to add to the list of ethical responsibilities to our audience or audience members to the speaker? Anything I didn't touch upon? Jason?
I had a question, and honestly thought you answered it between being kind and being aware. My question was, do we have to, now that we're in the Zoom world, do
Mhm.
we have to pay attention to everyone's environment in Zoom? So like if you mentioned, you did the example about someone using a fan and indicating that they're hot.
That's
How
in a
much do we
live.
have? That's just for a live event. But now, how cognizant or aware do we have to be of everyone's environment in Zoom? Is that our responsibility at all to acknowledge that and, in some way create some way of making them feel comfortable, or do we let that go? How does that? Because I know that could, how does that play out in the Zoom world? Do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, feeling uncomfortable, you may not know that they feel uncomfortable. And Jackie, do you want to address that? Feeling uncomfortable?
Um, I wouldn't think that that would be our responsibility. Maybe you can have a private chat with them and say, just kindly, is there anything I can help you with? Just put a positive spin on it rather than saying, you look like you're falling asleep. You could say something kind like, is there something I can help with to help you? And just see what they say back. I mean, everybody's on their own turf and they should be comfortable with where they are. The only thing that makes me uncomfortable is when my internet misbehaves. And you can see that. You can see somebody having trouble with their internet, and you can just kind of give them some love. And because when your internet misbehaves, it's frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a tough call. If you're in charge of the meeting, like, like this or something, and you can see something, then it's small, intimate meetings, yeah, you can address it, because it's like a magnifying glass. But at the same time, if I'm speaking and I'm looking at the camera, I cannot see individually what you all are doing. So it's really a challenge.
Okay.
You look at the camera, so it's more personal. But then if CJ yawned, I couldn't tell, even in my peripheral.
Got it.
So it's a tricky slope that we're all learning still.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to just have to address it now. When I was uncomfortable in my share, then those people took me directly out of that room into a private room.
Okay.
Maybe they were afraid I'd get other people uncomfortable. Maybe they wanted to make sure that I was solved or resolved or whatever. I don't know. Yes, Jackie.
You muted, Jackie.
I know, I can't, there we go. It wasn't unmuting. Just what I said, you get frustrated when it doesn't work. Well, how did they know, Arvee, that did you say that to everybody? Or if you were in a chat room, how did they know that you were having trouble in a chat room? I'm confused.
Well, no, it was a girl that started it with me in the private chat. And then the whole group, we were doing a share, right? Everybody was sharing how they felt about the experience. And a lot of them, it was good, it was great, and this and that. And then I just kept my mouth shut to the very end. We were almost done. And I didn't have to share. We were going to take a break. And then I just finally felt like I just had to get it out. And this girl that started this, I told her, I said, why don't you share? And she said, no, why don't you share and I'll back you up. And when I shared, she was not there. I mean, she was physically there, but I didn't get the backup. I didn't get the backup at all that she promised. Yes, Karen.
So along the same lines, I think, Jason, about the environment, I found it very comforting. I don't know if it's proper comforting, but engaging when the speaker, like Arvee saying, the environment, bringing everybody's video up, having that ask. I don't know if that's in the same, genre or same place you're looking at, but I've been on enough Zooms now that those speakers that say, invite you to participate fully and bring you into the space and the environment so that you're creating your own environment by making a safe place for everybody to show your face and be part of it, and not just show your name, or seeing people's names and saying and asking them to fully participate. I find that engaging. It's not offensive, because sometimes you're driving and you don't want to show, but if they're inviting you into that space, then you're going to get what you're going to get, and I'll be driving. But that was the invitation to make the space in the Zoom environment welcoming. So I don't know if that applies, Arvee, to what we're talking about creating an environment.
No, this is helpful, because I think the thing that came up for me as Arvee was sharing this was in the point of the introduction of my signature talk, in acknowledging everyone's presence in being there before I actually get into the content. Doesn't seem that I also, in being aware of people's environment, that I need to take a couple of sentences or 30 seconds to set up the environment. So saying something as if, please have your camera on, this is why, or, just set up the whole domain for the call.
Okay.
And in that sense, that's what was showing up for me when you were sharing all that.
If you are the host, the answer is yes. Like
Okay.
Steve does a great job at his meeting. I'm doing that here. I don't have to be intimate, but I'm doing it at my networking meeting. But if you're the speaker, it is not your place to tell people to have their video on. Although I've done it, but to set up the environment, it's not your place, because you're a guest in somebody else's room. But I've been there. I've been speaking, and I've started it and got people all excited, and then I noticed a lot of people still have their camera off, and I put the bag over my head, right? And say, this is what it's like, trying to, make it a joke. Or I use my glasses and say, I'd like to see you. I can't see you because your video's off, so you can still work some of those things in as a speaker if you want, but make it fun, make it be kind,
Right.
and because people don't have to turn it on, but I've gotten people to turn it on before. And like one girl in one of my events, she was on the treadmill almost the entire day. I'm like, good for you. You got 50,000 steps or something. But the whole day she was right there with me, but she was on the treadmill, and that's why she originally had it off. But when I encouraged her to turn it on, then she did.
Arvee, so what Jason is saying, and Karen, if it's not your room, because this is what's for Thursday and Friday, if it's not your room, not your room, but you're invited to be a speaker for a segment of that time, and you can see that 10 people have their cameras off, and you can see a photo or a black and then their name. So what Jason is saying and what Karen is saying, and make it fun, put the bag on my head. First, when I get on stage and say, hey, this is Dr. Renee, and I put the bag on my head and say, hey, I'd like to see all of you. Can you do your very best to be fully engaged and to show up on the camera? Is that bad to say?
I would not.
My room.
No, I would no. Don't misunderstand me.
Okay.
I said, as a speaker, you could do that, but there's a time and a place. You have to start out. You're in rapport, so you start out with the attention grabber. You start out with thanking them. You start out with your story. Then right before the content. See, now they're loving on you. You've loved on them. Right before the content, you could pull out and make this a joke.
Okay, so hold on. Okay. So story. How about a joke? A joke?
No. This becomes the joke, right?
Oh, okay.
Like you're going to go into the content. You say, okay, so we're ready for the 5 love tips. But I'll tell you, for those of you that don't have your camera on, it's really hard to make love if you have a bag over your head. Right?
Okay. Thank you. I have a paper bag. Okay, I was trying to get that. It's like putting a condom on my head or something like that. Because I'm going to do that. 5 love tips and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to go, this is cool. So
you could get away with doing that. You could get away with doing that, making a big paper condom. That would work.
Okay,
But
so
yeah, do it after you've built rapport, not before,
rapport. Okay,
or
so
it comes off differently.
okay, so my story, and then when I go to my 5 love tips or 5 business tips or whatever it is.
Right, right.
But before I go into the 5 secret business tips, golden boulders of information, I like to share with you something. Pull the bag, have it over my head. It's like, I really would like to see everybody. If you'd be fully engaged, it would be really fantastic. Like that.
And make
Okay.
sure that they know it's something in it for them, that they will get more out of it if
They're fully engaged.
if we can build rapport with them back. See, they're
Right.
getting the love because they see us, but we can't
Right.
give the love because we can't see them.
We can't give the love if we can't see them.
Right.
Okay, got it. Give the love. Okay, thank you so much. I was so confused. When do I put this condom on my head? A paper condom. I was like, how do I do this? Okay, thank you.
I can't wait to see that.
Okay.
Videotape it so we can all see it, or video it.
Okay.
Record it.
Okay.
That's funny. Okay, Ardina, we haven't heard from you yet. What's going on?
You know, I don't know if this is maybe similar to what Jason is saying, but when you're speaking on Zoom, especially let's say you have about 30 people, how do you focus? Who do you focus on since you can't see everybody?
You on the camera.
Just on the camera?
Yeah, that's why you can't always see everybody real good. And you can only look at people when you open it up for share or you open up chat. But the rest of the time as a speaker, you're looking like this, right?
So like right now, I'm looking at you because you're
Right.
talking.
So
Are you looking at me?
Who am I looking at?
I know you're looking straight in. Are
So
you looking?
I'm looking at each and every one of you, right? Now, if I look down at you, I'm looking at you. If I look at Jackie, I'm looking over here. If I look at, and CJ, but if I'm looking like this, you all think I'm looking at you.
Okay.
Okay. So as a speaker, that's what you need to do. When you're doing a podcast interview, that's what you need to do when you're speaking. Too many people look over here at the other person. No, you're looking at the camera when you speak.
Okay.
And get in that habit, because I noticed that video you sent me, that wasn't the case. You were reading.
Yeah.
And we can see it.
Okay.
See, a little bit of movement we can see. People that use teleprompters, we can see they're going like this practically. I'm exaggerating, but so here's a trick to do in video, right? Most people can remember 3 things, right? 3 things. Let's say you have 10 tips and you want to do it, right? Now you could just go out and do it if you know it, right? But even if you had a long list, like look at this, I'm going to pretend like I have a list. I have a list, my notes, right? I'm going to put it right underneath the camera here. Okay, now, so I looked fine the first time, the first couple, right? But now watch what happens when I go like this. Now what's happening? And I go, okay, be present, be flexible, right? Do you see the difference?
Right.
It's subtle, but it's magnified in here. So the trick is this, when you do, oh, my camera, I don't like to see it. So the trick is this, the first 3 things you're going to say: be honest, be generous, be respectful. Be honest, blah, 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 be respectful, blah, 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 blah. Then you turn off your bloody camera. Then you do the next steps, or you pause your camera. Do what those are. Then you deliver, right?
Oh, excuse me, Arvee, when you say pause the camera, what does that mean, pause the camera, if you're doing something live?
Well, I'm talking about if you're filming it. I'm talking video. I'm talking
videotape.
about getting your iPhone and videotaping for YouTube.
Got it.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or whatever you're videotaping for, videotaping a speech it's a lot better than reading. And I did this too. I thought I could stick some notes underneath my camera and get away with it. Nope, we can see your eyes. Just know that we're watching your eyes, because the eyes are the connection to the soul. It's our connection to the speaker. And if we can't see your eyes, we can't connect, right? This isn't easy. You're all learning advanced stuff. I mean, this is not a walk in the park. It's all challenging. So CJ, let's hear from you.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm
I
learning a
love
lot,
it.
taking a lot of notes.
I love it when he goes, hello, hello, hello. Do that hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Aw.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, our time is up. We're right up at 5 o'clock. Does anybody else have any? I know it went fast, didn't it?
It did, yes.
Any other questions, comments, or desires before we leave our call today?
Let's make millions.
Let's
make
make
millions.
millions.
Let's make millions.
Cool. Now
Yeah.
everybody has a paddle, right?
Yay.
Yes, everybody has a paddle.
Jason has one. Yay.
Yay. And Ardina, keep them handy.
Keep it handy. Use it as a fan.
Where is it?
Find
You
it.
left it in the other room?
No, I have it. It should be here.
Mine is glued to my forehead, like my phone. It's all the time together.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay, well, if you
Okay.
ever-
Bye, everybody. See you next week. Thank you, Arvee. Bye,
Welcome.
Jack. Bye, Jason. Bye,
Now, wait
CJ.
a
Bye,
minute.
Ardina.
Bye, everybody.
Bye
Before
bye.
you end, wait
Have
a
a good
minute,
week.
before you end, last few words. Remember, this is December. This is a great time to be getting speaking engagements because people are scheduling for next year. All right. I've already got 5 speaking engagements. January, February, a few more in there. So they're out there. They're looking for you, right? Also for podcasting, they're looking for you. So don't wait till January. It'll be too late. So pick up the phone, get those speaking engagements. And when you do speak, remember to always speak with passion. Mwah! Bye, everyone.
Oh, that's it.
Good night,
That is,
Arvee.
baby.
Thank you.
Right on,
Night.
baby.
Yay.
Bye,
All
everybody.
right.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody. Good to see you, Karen, Jackie, CJ,
Bye,
Ardina.
Brenda.
All
God
right.
bless you. God bless you.
Bye, Brenda.